In hospitality, you get to work and you've got no clue how your day is gonna turn. All you can do is prep. I can't speak generally about it. I can speak from my perspective.
Yeah.
If I would have probably done some sort of hospitality school in the beginning, management or something like that, I would have avoided making some mistakes that I've done. As a manager, you need to realize that it's not you the one in the spotlight. It's actually your team that does the hard work. And as soon as you realize that, that's when your team is gonna perform, I'm not a big fan of replacing guys, I think managing is the same like making a puzzle. You have to be very good at finding the right spot for the right individual. If you do it just because it's another job, probably then it's very easy to walk away. But if you do it because you actually love doing it and because you actually enjoy doing this job, it's not as easy. I know so many people that walked away from hospitality and within a year or two they got back to it. I would encourage all kids, go and work in hospitality. If you like it, you stick. If not, you've got other options, but give it a try. Even if you're not gonna do it for a long time, it will still help you a lot.
My guest today is Dumitru Ursache. He's operations manager at one of the best 5-star hotels here in Jersey. He's been working in the hospitality field for over 12 years here locally, so he's got quite a vast experience. Now today's subject will be around why you should consider working in this field and what are the positives, because although there are quite a few negatives, the positives are there and we need to talk about them. Let's hear what he's got to say about it. Dumitru, welcome to Hospitality Insight. Thank you for accepting my invitation. So this episode is going to be slightly different because you are not a chef, you are not any of the guests or any of the jobs that we had till this point, still hospitality. And we're going to talk about your job in a second. But first, I want to know how you got into this field, So if you could explain, what was your journey from the beginning to now?
Hi, Rada. Thank you very much for inviting me, firstly. Well, getting to this job was pretty much not an option. As I arrived in Jersey, give or take about 12 years ago, 2011. And as you probably know, during those times, there were many options to get a job in Jersey. So kind of naturally, I went towards hospitality and I started at Radisson in town. I started as a food and beverage assistant, pretty much doing anything in there. And somehow this job grew on me. And I realized that I actually do what I like. And I realized that I enjoy being around people and I enjoy speaking with different people every day, and hearing different stories. And I've got excited about this job. And I start thinking, on the beginning was a 5-year plan, I get my 5-year qualities and that's it.
Like then, many people,
then go towards the state jobs or finances or something similar. But staying in the job, I've realized that actually you can have a pretty good career in hospitality while doing what you enjoy. Obviously, in the beginning, the hours were unsocial and hard days, and you sometimes get home, couldn't walk, but in anything you do in life, you need to work hard in the beginning. You can't just,
expecting and get it for granted.
You just can't skip, the base up steps. So 12 years later, still in hospitality. And still enjoying it and still doing my job with love and passion.
Well, that's great, because there are not that many people, that still enjoy what they do. And that was probably one of my questions, what kind of kept you into this role after the 5 years? But I guess, was that passion, was that you kind of fell in love with the job, you made your way up and then you probably got into a better place that's a bit more manageable in terms of hours? Is that what it was that kept you?
It is the passion, and it's the fact that you never get to be bored in this job.
I totally agree from that perspective.
It's different every day, If you work in the office, you just get to the office and you kind of know how your days go. In hospitality, you get to work and you've got no clue how your day is gonna turn. All you can do is prep. Do as much prep as possible, because everything can change within a second. To give you an example, I used to work at Ransom Steel Rooms. I've been a general manager there for 3 years, and we would have a really quiet morning, and then we have 2 coaches from TAM TV stopping by, and you get suddenly 60, 70, 80 people just barging through the restaurant doors, and they had a 30, 40 minutes window, and you had to sit them down, take their orders. So from going from a chilled and okay morning straight away into rushing and getting crazy busy. So I guess it's the excitement, of never knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, I
And,
guess that unexpected. Yeah, it's
yeah,
something
yeah.
that kind of like
You know,
drives you.
in office, if you've got someone calling in sick, you just close one of the offices and say, "I'm sorry today, due to staff shortages, we can't open this desk." But in hospitality, if someone calls in sick, you can't just, you need to carry
Power
on.
through
So so you actually need to be able to motivate your team, and you need to go through it and deal with it. So I think this is what kept me. Also, I'm kind of an ambitious person, and I thought that I can do more. So hence the reason why I've started looking into developing myself professionally. So I went to Highlands. I've done the wine sit course. Then I went into UK and I've done the VQ level 3 in hospitality leadership. Then now the moment I'm doing the level 5 management with chartered management. You do need to always look at improving yourself and become better. You can't just stay in one place.
In terms of school, because now you're touching on that, is it important in hospitality? Because I had like guests previously, and obviously, yeah, that it was mainly about kitchen, so that's probably a slightly different environment, and it definitely is. Do you think it's important to, apart from like obviously specializing on the job, in terms of like practicing, is important to get a certain qualification and go through a school like any other job? Do you think that that's something relevant for the hospitality?
I think I can't speak generally about it. I can speak from my perspective.
Yeah.
If I would have probably done some sort of hospitality school in the beginning, management or something like that, I would have avoided making some mistakes that I've done. On my first management roles, I've done some bad mistakes. Looking now back, I'm thinking that I've got no clue how I was so bad. I was bad at it. My first couple of jobs, actually my first 2 jobs. In my first, I was not a manager. I was more like a supervisor, shift leader. Mm-hmm. I was so bad at it. Looking now back to it, I had no clue how to gather people around me. I had no clue how to motivate my team. I used to be a bully. And that was coming from my insecurities of not knowing how to do the job. And now with my eyes of today, looking back at that, I'm like, oh my God, I was terrible. So I think this is where school and studying kicks in. If I would have had some sort of courses done or management school or hospitality school, I think I would have not made some of those mistakes, because I had a base of knowing how to do those things. But at the end of the day, every day it's a school day. So, I don't regret what I've done. I regret actually I don't have any regrets, I think everything kind of followed up. But yeah, I think school on certain levels, it's important, but it differs from individual to individual.
Yeah, and probably the same from department to department and so on. And I guess, yeah, in your field, probably because you work that much with people and you're managing people, I'm guessing, because we'll get to the point that, we'll get later on, talking about what your job consists of. Because, operations manager, it kind of like gives me some sort of clues, but I don't have a huge understanding about the role coming from kitchen, from the that hospitality side. I don't really know what your job consists of, so we're gonna get to that. But I think knowing how to manage people is a skill on its own, and you are at the level now that you need to know how to do that properly, and how to keep people is probably now even more important, considering the crisis, the staff crisis that we've got. How do you motivate your people? How do you keep them motivated today? Because it's really hard to, I guess, everybody's kind of like, probably not everybody, but most of people are kind of running away from this industry. How do you manage to keep them in the industry?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure if I managed to keep people in the industry. I think the industry needs to do something to keep people together, and the industry did become better. And the hours are becoming a bit more sociable, and the work it's not as hard as it used to be. I think you need to lead people, not be a boss. When you lead by example, that's when you have a great team. Being a manager, it's not easy. But at the same time, if I as a manager, I don't know, something happens to me tomorrow morning and I don't go to work, the work is going to work without me. The business is going to carry on. Probably they're not, it's going to be...
He's resilient, yeah.
It's probably going to be tough for a while, but they're going to carry on. But if your team walks out on you, a business is not going to work anymore. So it's not about you as a manager. It's about your team, and it's about the way you treat them. Yeah. And you need to treat them with respect. And you need to empower them, make them, at the end of the day, it's about them. It's about the team that does the work, not about you as a manager. You're in there, just to make sure you give them the means to get the job done, providing them training, giving them all the tools they need to do the job. But as a manager, you need to realize that it's not you the one in the spotlight. It's actually your team that does the hard work. And as soon as you realize that, that's when your team is going to perform, and it's going to follow you. It's going to not follow you, it's going to follow your lead. Because everything you do, you do it for them, and you do it to make them better, to make them achieve better results.
Yeah, I do feel like if we were to have this conversation probably like 10 years ago, you would have a totally different perspective, yeah.
10 years ago, I was in a different place, and I used to have different opinions about managers. Let's just say that through my early years of career, I did not had... that's the wrong thing. I did not had. I've had managers, and I've actually had something to learn from every single one of them. From some of them, I learned things to do, and from some of them, I learned things to never do. So looking back, I don't think I can say anything bad about anyone, because at the end of the day, in life, you learn. So having a bad experience with someone, that's actually a teachable moment. It's not something that, no, it's a teachable moment. If you know how to look at that situation, and if you are able to look in the mirror at yourself and this happened, what do I take out of it? Well, you've got two options. You either become angry, frustrated, or you're thinking, actually, you know what? Let's just learn something from this. It didn't work that way, so maybe next time I'll try a different way. Maybe the result is going to be different, and I'm not going to have a conflict with someone.
Yeah, so you gave us a few insights, about your beginning in hospitality. But how do you think everything changed from, let's say, when you started to now? Do you see something changing in positive? Do you see what's changing in positive? What's changing in negative, basically?
The industry changed a lot since I've started. Now I can't compare myself, with people that have got 20, 30, 40s in the trade. However, these last 12 years, I think for hospitality were very tough. When I started, it was still that old school of hospitality, long hours, you don't complain, you're being given any shifts, you just take them and you suck it and you carry on. It's not the case anymore. So many people migrated away from hospitality that now hospitality businesses are becoming much more understandable. And, they realize they need the staff to work. They can't work without staff. So they provide them a better quality of life. We were talking before this podcast started about the Highlands school fair, job fair. Yeah. So a couple of months ago, I went to Highlands job fairs, and I think there were between 300-400 young students, looking at
opportunities.
Yes, opportunities for future. And nearly none of them stopped near the stand of the place I work, because when I asked them about considering a career in hospitality, they go, hospitality? No, I don't want to be a servant all my life. No, I don't want to serve people. No, I don't want to be a cook. And, And I said, yeah, but you do realize that hospitality is not just about serving at tables and, and cooking. It's not just about being a chef or a waiter. Hospitality is such a much broader industry. In hospitality, you can have a Monday to Friday job. If you work in one of the hotels on reservations, you're going to work Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4. You've got weekends off, you've got evenings off, You can get a part-time as a breakfast waiter if you want to have evenings off. In hospitality, if you need a day to go to the bank, you can change your day off, and you can have the day off that suits you the best to get your personal problems resolved. If you work in an office Monday to Friday, you don't have that flexibility. So I said, in hospitality now you've got people that do marketing, that do social media content, and you've got lots of freedom. You can work for local business to deal with the content for social media, and then you have fun in hospitality. So it's a very, very big misconception about hospitality. I don't think young students understand what actually hospitality means.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of recently, although I've been I worked for like 6 years in hospitality also a bit in Romania and then here. And then, probably even to now, meeting so many people with the podcast and then with the video business that I've got, and, seeing how vast it is, because my wife was saying like, oh, you're so niche with this podcast that, you're probably soon going to run out of people, but then I'm like, no, this is so huge. It's unbelievable. You have suppliers, which are, you got, I think about it as a whole. So suppliers, for me, in a way, those are the engine of like of the hospitality. So they, in a way, they kind of belong to this industry too. But then, as you said, everything that in terms of like marketing, reservations, reception, everything, it's a bigger piece of pie. So I think we kind of like overlook that, it's not just chefs, it's not just waiters, and it's so much more. You probably need to go through a bit of pain, like in any other industry, I think, till you make your way up. I think it's just normal. And I think it's healthy as well, knowing like the ins and outs. Like, how would you be, for example, going straight into a managerial role without knowing the pure basics,
Crap.
Because you most likely now
really bad at it.
You can most likely now replace one of your guys without any issues because you've done their probably job in the past, I guess, right?
I'm not a big fan of replacing guys. I think managing is the same like making a puzzle. You have to be very good at finding the right spot for the right individual. In my opinion, there's not such a thing as a bad employees or bad people. They might not be suitable for that role or for that position or for what you ask in that role for them. But if you're a good manager, you're going to try to see what their skills are and use their skills in a way that you can benefit from that, rather than thinking of replacing them. Replacing someone or letting someone go, for me, it's the last option, the last resort, when I've got absolutely no other idea how to turn that. We live in a world where everyone tries to blame everyone for everything. If something goes south, straight away, oh, whose fault is, what happened, who've done it? As managers, we very, very often fail to look at ourselves. So if you've got someone failing on the floor in the restaurant, did you provide that person enough training to do his job right? Did you provide that person all the meanings to do his job right? Did you have the right levels of staffing? You need to ask yourself all those questions. If you're going to go and blame straight away the waiter for having a complaint, I'm sorry to say it, but I don't think you're a very good manager, because you might actually be the one who screwed that things up, and you might be the cause of those complaints. So you have to stop and think, well, let's see what the problem was. Do you know what's going on with your team? Do you know what personal issues they've got? Do you know what difficulties they've got in life? You can't just put pressure on them without getting to know them. You need to know your team.
Yeah, fair point. So you kind of gave a few clues along the way of this conversation, but what your job consists of? So you are operations manager at one of the best hotels here in Jersey, but what's your role, let's say, from when you go in the morning to whenever you finish? Like, I mean, I guess it's quite dynamic, so you don't really know, but like the very basics, what an operations manager does. How could you explain your job to someone that has no idea?
I can tell you that what the operation manager means on paper has absolutely nothing to do with what I actually do the day to day. And I think that's the beauty of the role, and that's the beauty of the job. Technically, as an operations manager, you look at everything that means operations in a hotel, food and beverage, housekeeping, reception, make sure everything runs smooth, everything goes up to the schedule, you've got the right levels of costing, you've got the right. However, I think this year, probably 40% of my time consisted of recruiting and finding ways of getting the right levels of staffing. Obviously, we do have the heads of departments that are directly in charge with recruitment, but when your teams are not staffed at the right levels, then your managers have to step in and they stop being a manager and they have to do the job they are not supposed to do, because the second you're missing someone and the manager has to step into to cover, that means they're not doing their job because they're filling in for a different role. So obviously I had to step in and try to be supportive and help them. So I've started looking at ways of recruiting people, ways of getting the stuff in. So that's why I'm saying technically I should not be dealing with recruiting, but I think from February probably to end of mid-May, 40% of my time would have just been recruiting, posting jobs, looking at ways to get stuff in. But obviously above that, I'm looking at ways of making things better, ways of making everything work more efficient, budgeting, ways of saving money from purchasing, for example. I'm analyzing the costs we have for certain products, for certain services. For example, looking at the kitchen, you're looking at how do they use the seasonal ingredients? How can you make your GP more efficient? And you have to work very close together with your chef. Try to,
Do you get into issues? Because chefs are usually, head chefs in general are usually quite tough-minded, in terms of I want that, I don't care about the cost, that's going to go in the menu. And you'll be like, I'm not really sure about that because, it's quite pricey. Or do you get into this?
Chefs are a different breed, but we all love a good food.
Yeah, fair point.
So I think, that creativity that good chefs are having obviously comes in with a tiny bit of craziness. I mean, looking at all the great people in the history, tell me one that was completely sane.
Fair point.
So, I think that's a cause for that creativity. But as soon as you realize that you have to work together and you don't actually compete with each other, sometimes maybe you do have to listen to your chef. Maybe your chef has a good point. I mean, if your chef has a signature dish and that dish, let's say it's out of season and it costs you money, but maybe that signature dish brings people in.
Fair point.
So maybe you do need to stop and have a chat with your chef and see, why we did this. Chefs are very proud. And if you try to step on their pride, it's not going to go well. And they are proud because they are doing one of the toughest jobs you can do. And they are delivering under incredible pressure. And what they do, it's amazing. So they've got all the reasons to be proud. And you have to be there with them to offer them and to give them support.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, so you touch a bit on the staff situation, that this is kind of keeping you busy now since beginning of the year. But are you in a better place now? How do you do in terms of staffing? Is this the biggest issue you've got? What are the challenges basically you've got in your role?
At the moment for this season, I can say that we are fully staffed. So we haven't got any staffing issues at the moment. Obviously, that's a new culture coming into Jersey since we had the work permits and the visas and pretty much Brexit and COVID. We lost lots of hospitality people during COVID because they realized, they can go and do some other sort of jobs that gives them a bit more freedom or, less stress. Now with the work permits and visas, we've got people coming from overseas and they've got a different culture, and I think this is a new challenge. Having staff members that are not from Europe, they need time to adjust. You can't bring someone in 9 months and expect them to deliver from day one. Because if you bring someone that's never been in Jersey before, they're going to need at least 4 or 5 months to get up to speed with what goes on in Jersey. And let's face it, in Jersey, people are demanding and people are expecting a good quality of service. So I think we are adapting at the moment. And, as an industry, hospitality at the moment, it tries to find some common ground and build up on that, because you've got all these people coming from different places with different experience, different level of knowledge, and you need to bring them under one standard, and you need to make them deliver quality and deliver a good service. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I'm not going to give any names. We had, in one of my past jobs, we had this sous chef with a very, very good CVs, 20 years experience of cooking. And we had ribeye in the menu. And one day I was just, passing through the restaurant, making sure everything's all right. And one of the guests stops me and he shows me his plate and he asks me, sorry, what's this? And I look at it and I said, well, I'm not sure what you mean. It's a steak, but I'm not sure what you mean. And then he opens up the steak, and the steak was butterfly cut. Yeah. So instead of being the nice thick ribeye, it was just split into two. And I apologized. And I said, I'm really, really sorry. Let me take that and get your fresh steak cooked. So I go to the kitchen and I give that back to the chef and ask him, chef, what happens? Why is the steak looking like that? Oh, I just thought it's going to cook quicker. I was like, you can't do that. It's a bloody ribeye. I mean, that's not a ribeye anymore. That's a minute steak. I said, can you please cook another one? Well, I've done them all like that. And he had the whole chunk of ribeye. He portioned them and he butterflied open them all. So I had to go back to the guest and apologize and ask him if he would like to choose something else from the menu. And for the next couple of days, we had minute steak baguette in the menu as a special. Because we had to do something with that. But it's because where he came from,
it was normal.
It was normal to do that. So even though he was a very, very good and very experienced chef, he's done something that in here it's not really acceptable.
Yeah, fair point.
So you do need to spend some time with them, to bring them up to speed.
Have you ever considered leaving the industry now, being for that long here? Like you said, there are quite a few people, they come here, probably they get into hospitality at the beginning. No, probably not that much, because when you and I, came here, probably hospitality was one of the only options, So some people got in there because it was the only option. Some got there because probably they like doing it. But yeah, overall, was probably the only option. But then after 5 years, had that crossed your mind? It was like, you know what? I've done my 5 years. Let's do something else.
Yeah. Probably 3-4 times a day.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm joking. Yeah, you do have, you've got days and days like everywhere else, and you have times when you just sit down and you reconsider your options. But it's hard. And I'm going to tell you why it's hard. You do something that you like and you put passion into it. And you can't just walk away, because the passion you put into that job, into that business, into this trade, creates a bond. And it's not as easy as it looks, just if you do it just because it's another job, probably then it's very easy to walk away. But if you do it because you actually love doing it and because you actually enjoy doing this job, it's not as easy. I know so many people that walked away from hospitality and within a year or two they got back to it for various reasons. Some of them because they realized that going out and working in a different environment where you have to pay your sandwich and your coffee every day and it's costing you 10 quid a day, that you're actually pulling the line at the end of the month and you're seeing that, well, hang on a minute, there I had a coffee, 2 coffees, 3 coffees if I wanted to, had a sandwich, a soft drink, which I would never pay. So my income, maybe I was not earning as high as here, but at the end of the month I had more money in my account. Or they miss the trail of it. They miss the customers. They miss the service, the heat, There are quite few people that left and go back to hospitality. I mean, I think there's a place here that the owner of the place went to be a bus driver, and after a while he opened his own restaurant. And
that's Mihai. I know 100% what you're talking about. He's a good friend of mine. It's all good. We know Mihai. He's a good friend of mine. So I actually collaborate with him on a few things like videos and all that. And he's crazy, huh? So he worked. He did work as a chef, as a sushi chef.
Yeah.
And then he left done
And
a
he
bit
got
of
back to
bus
the trade.
driving, and then now he's running a very successful business here.
I would say probably one of the
Yeah.
best sushi places in Jersey.
Fair
and
point.
He's doing an
Run by a
amazing job.
Romanian. How crazy is this?
And he's doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
I had some takeaways from him, and it's just great. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying there are people that go away and they come back because of the passion for the trade. But there are people that are doing this just see this as a job. They come in, do the job, go away home. As soon as they get another opportunity, they move on.
Yeah, so going back to the customers now. Now we talk about how hospitality, we think changed, in terms of like the job itself, from when you started to now. How do you think the customers changed? Do you feel like there is a change there as well, or the Jersey customers, they kind of been, they've been consistently the same?
The customers are the same. The habits are not the same. The habits do change, but I think it's not just the hospitality customers. We live in a rushed world. Everything is in a rush. If you're looking back in 2014, 2015, 2016, eating out sometimes would have been cheaper than cooking at home. I remember I used to finish work, go with my wife, grab a takeaway, go somewhere on the beach and have a takeaway. Takeaway would have cost me 15, 20 quid for two of us. And we would have a nice meal. So because of that, we stopped cooking home. For 20 quid, you have a meal and you don't do the dishes and you don't do the cooking. So you're saving an hour with your partner and it's pretty much the same cost. And everyone kind of, start going out as a norm. But now, after pandemic, you're looking at the raising costs, a raise in energy, electricity, a raise in staffings and everything. And now dining out kind of becomes a luxury again. So not everyone can afford to go out again. And we kind of go back in time 20 years ago when going out, it was not something you could afford to do every day. It was, something wow to be able to go
once a month, once a week.
If you're going once a week, you're already in a good paid job. But, for most of the people would go out to a restaurant for a celebration or for something special. And with the last changes, and with the raising costs, it looks like there's where this is heading again, Taking a takeaway these days, it's not as easy as it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when did become eating out a norm? I mean, looking at the costs involved in running a restaurant and a business, and let's set something up straight. No one opens up a restaurant to run it as a charity house just to cover costs. Whoever opens a restaurant
to be profitable. Yeah.
Opens a restaurant because wants to have a business, and it's every restaurateur or every owner of a restaurant or hotel to make it a profitable business. That gives them a good lifestyle. And when you're looking at the costs involved behind the restaurant, it's why do you want that? Give you an example. I had a couple of years ago a customer that called me disgraceful because we were charging £2.50 for a portion of toast. So those 2 slices of toast with jam, marmalade, and butter. And she didn't even order it. She just saw it in the menu, and she asked to speak with the manager. And I went to the table and what's the problem? And she started having a go on me. You're disgraceful. You. Are you not ashamed of yourself? And I had no clue what she means, And I was like, what's the problem? What happened? How can you charge that money? You're ripping us off. And I said, well, was something wrong with it? No, I didn't even order it. Why would I order it at that cost? And, she had the go on me. And I've tried to explain her. I said, yes, but you do realize the costs involved into delivering that toast to you. He said, we need to firstly be open for you and have everything ready. We need to have someone coming over, taking your order, someone preparing that toast for you, someone doing the dishes after you go, someone wiping that table, I said, there are lots of costs involved.
Electricity, everything else goes into
I'm
that.
I'm not even going to go because you've got the back cost and you've got liability insurance, you've got, maintenance, and there are lots of costs involved. So
maybe you don't even own the place, you pay rent.
She didn't care. You know what else? I don't care. It's just disgraceful to charge that. It's like, okay, that's your opinion. There's nothing I can do about it. But I said, price is in the menu. If you want to order it, you order it. If not, no. It's up to you if you want to take it or not. So that's why I'm saying, when did eating out become a norm? It's not.
Yeah.
You know, the cost to go out for a meal should, my opinion, should be higher than the cost of cooking your own meal home.
Fair point.
Because in a restaurant, you've got lots of people working for you in that moment, and those people need to be paid. So why would I expect to go out if I'm going to any of the local supermarkets now and I'm looking at buying a proper ribeye, it's gonna cost me 8-9 quid, 8-ounce ribeye, good quality 8-ounce ribeye, probably 8-9 quid, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to do a sauce next to it, if you're gonna buy a peppercorn sauce, I think that's an extra £3. If you're gonna get some Jersey Royals, that's probably another £4, or fries or whatever you want. If you wanna put some broccoli, that's £1.50. So just buying everything you need for that steak, it's taking you up to what, 14-15 quid home.
So how much should the restaurant charge then?
And you need to cook, you need to spend your own time. Now, how value
Washing up.
what's the value of your time? Yeah, for me, my time, it's invaluable. 1 hour of my time, it's very expensive because it's my time and it's something that I can't get back. And then you eat, you enjoy, but then you have to wash, you have to clean. So going and paying £28-29 on a ribeye still looks a lot? I don't think so. Because you've got lots of people that do all those things for you.
Yeah, fair point. Do you feel like the industry got like a big hit? Like, how do you see, for example, let's go back to your experience, So let's say 5 years ago to now, do you see like less and less people are eating out, less and less people are using these hospitality businesses, basically? Do you feel like we are heading that way, or we are there already?
We are saying that less people are eating out, but if you're looking at the Saturday night, it's nearly impossible to get in a restaurant without a booking. So I don't know. I can't say that because I have not seen any numbers, and I've got no base on saying this. Weekdays, it does seem that there are less people going out. Weekends, it's different. Weekends is busy. I don't know what to say because I can't say anything without having a base for it. However, I do know that eating out should not be something that's normal to do.
I think it should be an occasion. You appreciate it more as well.
Yeah.
I agree. Because I had a time when myself, when we actually came to Jersey, So it was that time when I'm like, I want to kind of like see the island experience, like the cooking, see what's here. And we were out like probably 3-4 times. Whenever we were off, it was going out and try different places and all that. And then it felt like you're just going there to eat. It wasn't an experience, it was just there, get the food, and we are out, pay. Can we get the bill as soon as you finish and out? And you never really felt like it was an experience. It seems like during the week, you're probably right, because that's kind of how I see it. During the week, it seems to be dropping quite a lot. Weekends, it's full everywhere. You really need to do your reservations in advance if you want to get something.
You can't eat in a good place in a weekend unless you. I'm talking dinner times. Unless you make a reservation, very, very rare you can walk somewhere and have a table available. Or you are advised there's going to be a slight wait, or you're advised that the table is not ready and you have to have a drink in the bar, But it is a tough time for the industry. Just recently learned about a restaurant, a very popular restaurant, shutting down in San Helier. I'm not going to use the name.
I think I know which one you're talking about then anyway.
But apparently there's a 20% foot traffic drop into San Helier.
Oh, wow.
So when you get a 20% foot traffic drop into it, it's obvious that you don't have as many customers as they used to. But now going down King Street, how many places are shut down? From the top of my head, I think there are about 3 or 4 places that shut down. I think that was the Feel Unique Sephora that shut down. That was the other one with they used to sell watches.
Yeah, it was jewelry. Another one.
Samuel something.
Yeah, Samuel.
Yeah, Samuel. And those are on King Street. So
it's the best place you can be.
Not having a foot traffic in there obviously doesn't give you
Do you think that because we get less tourists? I mean, I know you don't have that figure as well, but
We do get less flights compared to pre-pandemic. There are less flights in Jersey. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how much, but there are less flights. We don't get as many guests as we used to in the past. If you remember last year, Jet2 Holiday in June cancelled one of the 2 flights onto the island. I remember at that point I was general manager of one of the local hotels, and overnight we had hundreds of cancellations because of that, because they realized that they're only going to have a single flight in Jersey for the summer, not 2, and they just took 1 flight out.
That's a big hit for a business, especially because these are usually pre-planned, like long in advance. And then, the deals are usually, I wouldn't say detrimental for hospitality, but are in a way that if they cancel, there's no consequences in most situations.
For hotels, the patterns have changed. The patterns of bookings have changed. If before everyone used to book in advance to get the better prices, and to plan ahead, now the highest percentage of bookings are coming between 7 to 45 days.
Is it better price at that?
I don't think it's the price. I think it's people not trusting it, people insecurity.
Okay.
It's, looking at myself, if I'm looking at going away on September, I'm not going to book anything probably till a couple of weeks before, just because I want to be sure I can go. Pre-pandemic, do you remember all those talks about how hard it was for people to get the money back on flights for own accommodation? I think kind of everyone there learned the lesson that, no, why should I block my money in there? I'm going to book when I'm sure I can go. And it changed the whole pattern, people not planning the holidays as much ahead. They just go a couple of weeks before, and we can see that in numbers. If I'm looking at, the levels of business in 3 months' time, there's nearly no business there. However, 7 to 45 days before the period, you can start seeing slowly increasing and going up, and it's fascinating. The same time, another thing pandemic did teach people it's cheaper to drink home. I'm seeing so many people, and friends of mine go out for dinner. Before going out, they have a gin and tonic home, or they have a beer or pint home, and then they go out, they sit at the table, they only get a bottle of wine, they have the dinner, then they go back home, and they're gonna have a whiskey home. I was talking to someone the other day, one sales rep from one of the local companies, and he said, if we go out, I'm just gonna have a couple of drinks before. It's bloody mad, 6-7 quid a pint out. I just go for 5 quid, I buy 4 cans. In the supermarket, I have them. Then I go and I have a good time with my wife. And, I'm saving 40, 50, 60 quid and back home. And this is dangerous, because if you're thinking what's the worst when people start drinking on their own home, in terms of mental health, in terms of social life, when people start drinking home on their own, it's one thing when you go out and you socialize and you have a drink. You have fun, you have a good time. But when you sit on your own home and you have a couple of drinks because it's cheaper, I
mean, there might be people that they still enjoy it that way. But I agree what you're saying. Yeah, it's a different environment. Yeah, and and let's not forget, that's still that's a big hit on these hospitality businesses, because a big amount of whatever income the restaurant consists of, it's drinks, because those are not really perishables. You don't really the kitchen is a bit more of you need to really know what you really know. You really need to know what you're doing. Yeah. But with drinks, probably it's a bit more forgiving. You've got your wines, it stays there probably for years sometimes, depending on which one you got. And then it's easier from that perspective, because it's a big income.
If you're looking at States, it doesn't really help us either, because duty went up again, and the duty for alcohol, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid, and the taxes on alcohol. And in Jersey, you're not allowed to do happy hour. You're not allowed to do you're not allowed to do any alcohol, sales or promotions. It's stupid.
What's the percentage? Do you know the percentage? How much it goes, the tax into, let's say, whatever alcohol you're serving?
I might be wrong, but I think for 40 ABV, it's about £13 per litre duty. And I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
talking
just
from
to
the
have a
top of
rough
my
idea.
head. But I think for 40 ABV alcohol, it's about £13 per litre or around that area. Well, if you're thinking of that, that's high.
Yeah.
That's very high.
So then, for people, that think, oh, the wine,
Yeah.
it's huge. And in terms of pricing, if you go to the restaurant,
Most of the cost, it's actually the duty and the
part
tax
of
on
it
it.
is
It's not and in the restaurant it's gonna be more expensive because you've got someone that has hopefully knowledge in wines, and it's gonna recommend you a nice wine to go with your meal, and it's gonna serve that wine to a right temperature, and it's gonna look after you. So yeah, you do pay for the service.
Yeah, totally agree. So what I want to talk about, I mean, obviously we're not going to I'm not trying to get in anyone's personal life, but how do you manage? Now, probably you're in a lot better place, I guess, than at the beginning. Is your wife in the same?
She's
in the same
she's
trade.
in the same trade. She's
Is that making your life easier? You think?
Yes and no. We've got common things to talk about. So when we're getting home, we just speak about each other's day, and it's nice to share with someone that how to put it, that can give you an honest feedback without being afraid that's gonna get you upset or something like that. She's a head housekeeper in one of the in a very, very beautiful property in Jersey, and it's nice when you go home, and you get to speak with someone that understands the language you speak, and by language I mean the hospitality language, not and you get to share your frustration with her for half an hour over coffee, and then that's it. You just forget everything that happened that day, and you crack on with the rest of your day. So yeah, it's good.
So have you managed to balance now your life in a way that, okay, I'm kind of happy with the rotas I got, with whatever hospitality can offer, and home and family. So are you in a good place? Do you feel like it's a good balance now?
On my position at the moment, because I'm not directly involved into customer service. So
You don't need to be there weekends, basically.
I don't have to be there in peak times or service times, because we've got food and beverage manager, for example, for the restaurant. Then we've got the restaurant manager, and they are directly in charge of the food and beverage department. Then on reception, we've got a reception manager, and then we've got the front office manager. Mm-hmm. So we've got the teams in place. On the position I'm at the moment, I'm more preparing and giving them the tools to be able to go through the service well. I can't impact the service time, so I can't impact the service. I'm trying to give them everything they need so they can do the service right. And we've got, the department managers that look after the service during the peak times. And on my position, then I can, be home evenings or be home on weekends. However, if, we've got the staff shortage or something happens, I'm always happy to jump in. For example, Mother's Day, I had to go and help the restaurant. So I just give them a hand on the floor in the restaurant. If I have to cover the reception, I don't have the smallest problem with that. So, as I said, it's a dynamic role. Things go unexpectedly every day, and I haven't had the smallest problem into, filling in for a role if needed to.
I wanna end with something that's hopefully gonna inspire people that want to get into hospitality. For someone that wants to get into this role, what advice would you give them?
Run away. I'm joking. Don't run away. It is actually a very, very rewarding trade. I mean, everyone thinks hospitality it's not an important job. Everyone thinks, well, at least when I grew up and when I was young, everyone thought that working in hospitality, you must not be very smart, or the amount of skills and the amount of knowledge you must have in hospitality, it's huge. Out of everyone trying, there are loads of people that could not do hospitality. You need a certain level of skills. And it's rewarding, If you're a people person, you get to speak with 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 different people every day, to hear different stories every day, to engage with different sorts of personalities, to you get to make someone's day. You're having a guest that comes in and maybe is not feeling well, maybe had a bad day, maybe has a health problem, or maybe you just hear someone talking about being their birthday and they don't tell you that directly, they just speak, but they're not very well, and you just go and you speak with the chef, and the pastry chef makes a nice plate with a happy birthday written in chocolate, and you give them a cake on it with a candle, and you make them this surprise, that completely changes their day, and from a rubbish bad day they go home happy, and you've done that, so you actually do have a direct input into someone's day. It's important, and it's very, very rewarding. I used to be a food and beverage manager in Somerset for 5-star property, and we used to do lots of weddings there. I've got home about 15 cards from couples that got married in there, and they've sent me a card thanking me for making their life special. I value those a lot. From time to time, I look through them and I read through them, and reminds me why I'm doing this job and why what I do it's important. Because you actually make someone have and make memories that are gonna last for life, and you make it in a nice way. So yeah, that's why I would encourage people, come towards hospitality. You can be part of the most important moments in life of someone's. You can have an impact on everyone's life into day-to-day, life. You do get to have some freedom in terms of days off. You're not going to have the standard Saturday, Sunday off from the beginning, you're going to have the odd Wednesday or the odd Monday, but that's good. Monday is the day when you can sort something out at bank. Monday is the day when you can see your GP, not Saturday, Sunday, you know what I mean? If you need an evening off, these days managers are very understandable, and I'm sure you're going to manage to somehow get an evening off to sort something out. If you need mornings off because you need to drop your kids at school, you can go work somewhere where you only do lunch and dinner, and then you're going to have the mornings off to deal with that. It's not a bad trade to work in hospitality, but you need to have a certain type of skills, and you need to be a certain type of person.
People's person in a way, especially if you are like direct facing, direct kind of talking to customers.
We've got grumpy people as well, usually they work in the kitchen. So it's not just a job for people's people. We've got all sorts of people in the trade.
I think that's the good thing about it, because you can feed someone no matter their character, I guess.
Yeah. So I would definitely, being a young person, we do quite lots of Trident students in my current place, and I used to do lots of Trident students in my old places. The amount of confidence they gain doing a front house role in hospitality, it's amazing. You see them when they first walked in, they're usually 15, they're shy, they be scared, and you see them after 2 weeks fully confident going to a customer and speaking with that customer and enjoying with the guest and being capable to carry on a tray in such a little time has such a massive impact on their confidence and helping them develop their social skills. It's amazing to watch, it's actually...
And even if they're probably never going to continue in the trade, that's going to be something that's going to help them.
It's amazing to watch. So I would encourage all kids, go and work in hospitality. If you like it, you stick. If not, you've got other options, but give it a try. Even if you're not going to do it for a long time, it will still help you a lot. It will help you to understand people, to read people better. You know that sometimes a person, most of the time, people are speaking more when they don't use words, the body language. Mm-hmm. And in this trade, working on a front of house role, you do learn to read the body language, and you do learn to read people better, and it's an amazing skill to have in life.
Yeah, what I like about this episode, it was because probably till now we probably could be called a bit of like a hospitality doomsday podcast in a way, because we had quite a few people, and they have different people express different way their challenges, and we kind of like got deep into quite a few of the negatives, forgetting how much of the positivity is in this industry. Don't get me wrong, not all the episodes were negative, but just we kind of like dwell too much probably into negative, and we forget that what this trade is all about. And that's why I think it was a really positive one, and
I'm happy to hear that.
I really appreciate finding time for this. I'm sure we'll probably do another one in the future.
Who knows?
But yeah, who knows?
I respect everyone's opinion. However, you cannot build on negative. You know, you need a bit of positive thinking in order to build up something, and in order to become better. Only negative will tear you down and will build up your frustrations. So that's why I think it's important to actually see the positives of the trade as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of positive, and it was an absolute pleasure talking to you, Dumitru.
Same. Thank you very much for inviting me again, and I wish you and your listeners a good experience in hospitality.
Thank you.
trade.
Yeah. Let's hope that we have more people like getting into it, because we need people, and we all benefit from a healthy hospitality.
Thanks.
Thank you.